Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
Hey. So for everybody watching that's joining us today, my name's Alison Petty from Alison Petty Coaching, and this is a conversation on, which is a new interactive conversation engagement that I'm having with people that have gone through inspiring experiences. So Rebecca here is one of my clients, and we met how many weeks ago?
So I think 4 or 5.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you're coming to the end of your month now, aren't you? Yeah. So
yeah.
We had a coaching session, and when we first had our first session, you explained to me that you were wanting to start a photography business and that you were very passionate about photography, but that you were having some trouble getting it off the ground. So that was the sort of the content of what our session was going to be about. We had a little bit of discussion before about it, but the thing that we used to do your session was my goal setting guide. And through that process, we discovered some interesting things that were going on with you, didn't we? And really, that's the subject of today's conversation. So the topic of today's conversation is really social media and how, if we let it, it can have the deciding vote on whether our businesses or our personal lives succeed or fail. Because we get so wrapped up in the likes, the follows, the engagement, all that kind of stuff. So that's a very common theme these days. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I know I've definitely been through versions of times in my life where I've experienced that anxiety over those figures, those numbers, the lack of or loads of engagement, and how that's affected my mental health. And I think for you, that was what was going on at that time, wasn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the kind of photographer that you want to be. When we first talked, we were your goal, your end goals. The goal guide that I've created is called Zero to Hero, and it's essentially a series of questions that guide you through the process of setting a goal and achieving the goal. So the first question is, what is your end goal? Do you remember roughly what you said?
I think it was about being a documentary photographer.
That's right.
Being able to capture moments of issues that are happening and just kind of highlighting those issues and bringing it to people.
That's right. So that's your passion, isn't it? And at the moment, so just for anyone watching, your background is you're self-taught?
Self-taught. Been doing it since for at least 6 years, I think, but a few years trying to do it a bit more professionally. Yeah.
Okay. And again, just for people watching, were you at that point in a place where you were exhibiting work or selling work, or were you still in a place of experimenting and learning and figuring your way forward?
I think at that point I was still trying to learn. I was trying to sell things, but I don't think that I had then the confidence to push my work because I didn't have that belief in it. So I'd say I was still learning, because I was still learning the business side of it as well as learning the photography side.
Yeah, because I remember very clearly that to me it just seemed like there wasn't the structure. You had the passion and the love of it, and I think the motivation. It felt to me like the motivation was there, but there wasn't the structure of how to move yourself forward. So and I can remember very clearly, very early on, because the session we did was a 2-hour back to back, 2-hour session, and I remember very early on realizing that the conversation was quite heavily focused around Instagram and your current at that time experience with Instagram, and you weren't talking a lot about, you were hardly talking about photography or the processes around it. It was just about and it was kind of like, it seemed to me like your anxiety, but your concerns about, if you didn't engage or you did engage, that kind of thing. Can you talk about that for a bit, about how you felt at that time, if you can think back to then?
It was mostly because other photographers that I follow and interact with, a lot of them are posting quite regularly, and I just found myself I weren't posting as often, but when I did, it wasn't work that I was completely happy with. It was like I liked what I was putting out, but I wasn't completely happy with what the quality of it. And I just felt like if I wasn't posting weekly, daily, whatever it was, or if I wasn't, you know, scrolling through for hours, just checking what everyone else was doing and liking their stuff and interacting with them, that I would somehow get lost in like I'll just be in the bin of photographers, you know, just the ones that have been forgotten about. They don't get the hype as other ones do. So I was definitely not, I don't want to say addicted, I just felt like I had to be on social media all the time, posting all the time to be seen, to have my work seen. So I think I just kind of got in that vicious cycle that I couldn't quite get out of time. Yeah.
And you remember one of the things I asked you fairly early on in the conversation was to just draw a circle. And it was funny. I was telling a colleague of mine this recently, and I was saying, well, I got you to draw a circle and then allocate. I think we did it over the course of a week, wasn't it? It was like how much time you were spending on social media, taking photographs, editing, and building your business. And I remember when I said this to you, you looked up at me and laughed, and you went, "We know what this is going to look like."
Yeah.
I think by that point, you kind of was like, yeah, the social media here is a bit of an issue for you, like in terms of, you know, structure and all those kinds of things as well. But actually, are you being a photographer or are you scrolling, you know? So and what, I don't know roughly what your social media figure was. I feel like it was like over 70% or something.
I think it was a scary large amount.
Well, I think that maybe for you as well was, I remember seeing that shift in you of like, you know, you already knew when I said it to you, you were like, we know. But I can remember you looking at it and laughing and just being like, oh my God, like just seeing it written down on a piece of paper, just like, oh, that's not good. Like, and sometimes we need that separation from, you know, we can know, we can just like, you know, but face with it has more of an impact. I think that was quite a key moment for you. And also the other thing I remember we were talking as well was about the as you were just saying, this feeling of, if you don't post, if you don't engage, if you don't, you know, and this is so common. Like this is, you know, I remember when you said this, I was just like, oh, this I can understand, you know, to question whether it's true. That's what we then do in the coaching. But this idea that, and I remember you had that feeling of that you had a role to play. There was some kind of, because you're in a community of photographers and artists and creative types. You get these communities across Instagram, TikTok, and all that, and you all get to know each other and you're all engaging. That you were feeling like you had a role to play, and that if you didn't like something or, you know, stay connected, that you weren't playing your part. And I remember thinking that being really interesting. And do you remember how that felt? Because I'm sure that's quite a common feeling for people.
Yeah, it was just a lot of pressure, because there was, like, especially on Instagram and Twitter, there was a group of us that kind of all like rallied together, and it's just, you know, we were sharing each other's work, and, you know, they were posting amazing work all the time, and it was just pressure, because I was just like, well, I need to be posting amazing work all the time to keep up with their level, because I felt like I was behind, sort of like a race. It's like I was slowly going to the back, whereas everyone else was just far off ahead. And
it's interesting, isn't it, in a way that, well, no, I mean, it just is that you were feeling that, but your whole time was spent, well, not your whole time, but almost your whole time was spent engaging and not actually taking the photographs to go out to then be able to, not play your part, because there isn't a part to play. That's not what social media is, but to share your work, you know, and share what you're proud of. So it was kind of, well, as social media does, screwing you over. With that. But yes, I felt like that was a very common thing that I think a lot of people will especially, you know, if they're in a community that they regularly post in, and especially when it's something where you're sharing ideas, or you're sharing, you know, your work or something like that. It's like,
yeah,
almost like being at university maybe, or at college, where you've got a classroom of peers that you're daily engaging with, and you're bringing your thing to it. But I think for you that was a big trap.
yeah,
Yeah,
I definitely think so.
yeah. Okay. And yeah, so as we went through the goal guide, we were talking about lots of different things, and a lot of different things came up. But one of the things I said as well to you, and I think this is partly what led to what happened in the end, which I should have said at the beginning of this. There's a great story, a great ending to this story, which I didn't say at the beginning. But yeah, no, there's a great ending to this. But yeah, I asked you the question: if one of your peers was to disappear for a month or a year or however long off social media, completely vanish, no trace of them, but in, you know, a month later or a year later, they came back to Instagram and started posting pictures, and it was clearly their finest work they'd ever shot. You know, it was just beyond anything you'd seen of their work before. So they've been working to a really high level. How would you feel? Like, what would you think when you saw those posts suddenly appearing on your Instagram feed? Can you remember what you said?
I I said I'd be really proud of them because they took the time to put the effort in and really create something that kind of showed what they can do and is their absolute best work. And you know, it just shows that they care about what they're doing.
And I can remember as you said it, you were like halfway through what you just said then, and you started to laugh, and you looked at me, and I was just like, okay, let's just like, what if they said that about you? You were like, oh my god. That was it. I think that seemed to me the point for you, with the perspective shift of, actually, I'm a photographer. You know, that's what I am. That's what I, one of the many things that you are, or that you do. But yeah, that shift of perspective of what are you going to do with your day? You know, how are you going to spend your time, and what do you want to be on the end of? You know, do you want to be on the end of scrolling, or do you want to be on the end of taking photographs that you're really passionate about, and that you know your peers will respect you for having taken the time out to do? Which I think is perhaps taught you then went and did. So yeah, so towards the end of that conversation, I bravely suggested to you, but I think we'd had the conversation for a couple of hours. So when I made this suggestion, and we'd also talked about the algorithms and how they are made to make you paranoid and manipulate into using social media and all that kind of stuff, which is one of my least favorite things in the world. But yes, we had that conversation, and I knew you understood about that. So when I did suggest this to you, you know, you were obviously in the right place. But I suggested that, well, what would it feel like, be like, look like for you to delete your social media apps for a week, a month, 6 months, a year, whatever was right for you. And in that time, you only took photographs. So there was no marketing, no nothing, no engagement. I think we discussed about staying in contact with friends that you, or peers of yours, like photography peers, that are perhaps on WhatsApp, so that you're not completely disconnected. But there was no Instagram, essentially, and I think Facebook as well.
Yeah.
So you talk about that and how that felt to you when I suggested it, perhaps, as well, and also then what's happened since then.
Well, when at the time when you suggested, I felt like I was a bit apprehensive about it, but I knew that after doing the circle thing, that I had to take a break from social media. So I have been doing the month break, and I feel like in that time, my social media, like the time I spend on it, has decreased a lot. And I just I feel myself being more focused on not just my photography, but everything, because I'm not wanting to be on my phone. I'm not wanting to be scrolling. I'm out shooting. I'm planning shoots. I'm editing, and I'm learning more things within photography and how to edit. And I'm learning about myself as a photographer and kind of where I want to be taking it and kind of the things I need to do to get there. And the work I've produced in this month is some of the best work I've done. And although it's, I won't have something to post every single day, it's something I can post once this month and then another one next month. And I'll be happy with it just being that, because I know in my heart of heart that that's the best work I've done. So in that month, I feel like my outlook on social media has completely changed, and I don't need it. It's just a nice little thing to have to post stuff on every now and then. So it's definitely flipped.
Yeah, well, that's incredible. And just apologies then if I looked a bit distracted, but my screen just flipped out and I had to try and get it back. I didn't want to.
That's all right.
Very nice flow. Then I was like, oh no, technology's not been on our side today, is it?
It's not.
But that's okay. This is raw and real. That's what I like. No, that's great. And that's like, I mean, everything you just said then is just, it's wonderful. Like that complete 180 that you've been on from, we caught up last week, didn't we? And
yeah,
I think about 20 minutes into the conversation, I said to you, hey, like it's 20 minutes in and you haven't mentioned followers or likes or, and you were like, I know.
Yeah.
And to be clear about Rebecca as well, this isn't like, as far as I am aware and could see from the conversation we had, this isn't about you needing attention, you needing, it's not like in that sort of superficial sense of it was to do with your business, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that's going to have sort of a spread out effect onto how that's going to affect you mentally and how you feel about yourself. But this was very much about your work. So when you were talking about, engaging and needing followers and, so that your work, it was so that your work could be seen as opposed to so that I can feel great about myself, which is a difficult struggle that many people face. So so that's great. And you look like a different girl as well in that conversation.
Thank you.
And you do today. You do today. I remember the first time we spoke, I mean, you still look the same, but you just look so much more alive and I guess feeling that passion.
Yeah, definitely. I've not been zapped by social media, which is nice.
Yeah. And I love that you said as well that that it's made, I think I can't remember how you said it, but it's made space in your life for other things. So it's affected your life in beyond the business.
Yeah.
Positive.
I'm able to go out and do more things like photography, spending more time doing that, but also having time to focus on myself and make sure my head's in the right space and I'm looking after myself.
Yeah.
Because when I'm on my phone all the time, I'm not going out, I'm not talking to people. But now that I'm not on social media all the time, I have that time to get the social interaction I need to look after myself better. So it's definitely helped every aspect of my life, not just my photography and business side, which I'm very grateful for.
Well, no, that's lovely. I always feel like social media, especially things like Facebook, and I use them. I feel like they have their place, but I think they can easily get out of place in our lives, as you've experienced, and what you've done is put it back in its rightful place.
Yeah.
But I always feel like with Facebook, it's a lovely thing. You connect with somebody, and in whatever dynamic that is, but it connects us and then it disconnects us. There's that so if you're not interacting, and I've had this, I've experimented with it, and I know it to be a thing. I'm not on Facebook very much, but there were times when I was, and I would, there'd be friends that I would know of that were doing things and most likely posting about it, and I was like, I'm not seeing, like, there's just nothing of them, like, are they okay? And I go and look on their profile, and they had been posting things, but because for whatever reason, for a period of time, I didn't engage. And it might be because I wasn't on Facebook, or it might be that I wasn't feeling in a very engaging mood, but I was still loving seeing my pictures. Facebook had just said, Alison doesn't want to see this person's stuff anymore, so we're going to put that there and show her the rest of the stuff. And yeah, for me, I struggle with those, my feelings about that kind of thing, because that's a disconnect. And then that can lead to paranoia, if you're posting things, and especially if it's a really good friend, they're not engaging. It's like, why aren't they engaging? This is so common for so many people. And I think
it's like social media is telling you what you want to see, what you like, and it's not coming from you yourself. Being dictated by a machine or an app.
I have a friend who doesn't interact with anything, and only has, I don't know, like 50 or however many friends, but they're kind of like that in the real world anyway, but in terms of the actual engagement, they don't engage with anything, so that Facebook's like, well, I don't know what you want. You're not telling me. So it's like, we're keeping that to well. But that's really interesting. But I like to write something nice on a friend's thing, or about something or whatever. But well, I'm really excited for you. What do you feel like is next for you then, in terms of going back to social media? What does that look like to you at the moment?
At the moment, it'll just be just post, like, obviously continue to post, but I won't be doing it as often. Mm-hmm. And maybe just check my social media a couple times a week, so I'm not on it as much. I'll spend a couple of hours scrolling through a week, and then that's it, because I don't want to then be pulled back in again.
That's amazing.
And being stuck in that circle, because social media obviously plays a big part of a business, but it's not the most important one. So I don't want to focus all my energy on that. I want to do the work that I'm proud of, to then put on there, and then just kind of let it do its course.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. That's amazing.
Thank you.
I think as well, like with photography, because I am a photographer, but I'm not working as a photographer now, but I was a working photographer for 20 years. And I was a photographer before social media. So I came, that transition when Instagram turned up, it was like it changed everything, and in a really good way. But then obviously there's the downsides as well if you're not careful. I think even if you are careful, actually, it can just get in there, but I think as a photographer, you've got the thing of you want to show your work, and it's the perfect platform for that. So for you, it's finding that balance, isn't it, of still using it, but using it for your work, but not allowing it to take back over again. Whereas if someone's just using it as a hobby, like in a personal way, just to interact with their friends, it's not that there isn't a need for that, but for you, it's like, this is actually a genuinely useful tool for your business to help you market yourself.
Yeah.
But then it's
definitely
it's finding the balance of not letting that become a negative thing for you.
No, exactly.
Do you think that in your circle there are many people that feel similarly to you, or do you think, have you ever had conversations with your peers about this?
Well, like a couple of times, some of them have said that they felt guilty for not posting, or they're not as active as they usually are, and it's just it's weird to see. Although I've never had that personal conversation with them, I see that they are struggling with the same thing I've struggled with.
Right. Okay.
And it's just, when you see more people like that, it's just like, what is this, like, little community, but like, what is going on in this community where we're all feeling the same? So if we all know that we're going through the same thing, and we're in the same pressure, why do we feel the need to try and do the things that we feel like we have to, when we could just post whatever we want, rather than living up to the expectations of other people, which they don't have of us at all, and it's just in our heads.
Absolutely. I just had a thought. You could think about doing a project on this, a photography project somehow. I don't know. That would be quite a interesting one to photograph, but some sort of documentary project into the insidiousness of social media and how it affects us. Maybe, I don't know.
That'd be quite cool, yeah.
But I mean, yeah, you've got the experience of being there, and now you're here, and I'm sure at the very least you'll be able to help other people with it that are around you if they do have those conversations.
Definitely.
Yeah. So when you go back, you're just going to be posting the stuff that you love, and that's it. So are you still thinking about having the second Instagram? We talked about having one for your ideas and like an experiment. So when you're experimenting with projects, putting it out like a workbook and then a professional one, or are you thinking to have the one that's going to be your portfolio?
I'll still have the portfolio one, and then I'll have the second one for the other work. So the stuff, my photography, which I want to have go far and like that's my focus, then I'll have that as my portfolio, and then just have one on the side, and I'll post on that whenever I feel like I have something to post on there. Yeah,
because that was something we looked at as well, wasn't it? The how, I mean, this is slightly off topic but still very relevant to your journey anyway. We talked about how we're representing ourselves out there, and I was saying that and this wasn't this what I was saying to you wasn't a reflection on anything to do with your actual work, but it was about the representation of your work, and how when I looked at your Instagram and you first sent it to me, it didn't look like a photographer's Instagram. It looked like somebody who just liked taking pictures. And obviously I've looked at many Instagrams, photography Instagrams in my time, but I think even if you hadn't, you would probably think that, and you took that very well. I think you knew that was a thing, and again, this was part of your early journey of I am a photographer, I love it, I'm passionate about it, but help like help me get through this little patch where I'm stuck. And I got used to a visualization of your current Instagram, and then one that would be, say your name and photography, and it would be your portfolio, and how that one would be the Instagram that you'll use to represent yourself when you're talking to clients and when you're marketing yourself, and the other one's for putting something up that you're working on and saying, what do you guys think of this, like, is this working, whatever, like a workbook. So how did that feel? Talk about that maybe for a moment, because I think that was quite a shift in your perspective as well.
Yeah, definitely, because on my, which is now my portfolio account, before I had different types of photography. So I'd have portraits, and I'd have landscapes, and I'd have more kind of like artsy kind of photos, and it, like you were right, it didn't look like a professional kind of thing. I saw that, and just after we got off that call, I just archived everything. I was just like, you know what, she's right, let's start from scratch. And because although that I liked my photos, I was just like, if I was someone else looking for a photographer and I came across my account, I'd be like, oh, I don't know what she's doing.
Yeah.
So I definitely prefer having the separate ones, and just kind of having that as my absolute best work is there and easy to find, rather than scrolling through hundreds of photos of stuff that's just completely random.
Yeah, and people are just gonna like go off and find something else, and it is. I mean, portfolios are what represent us as what we do. I mean, this is like, we're showing our best work, and I think I said to you at the time, I remember in my earlier days finding it really hard to, I wanted to show everything. I was just like, but I also love this and this, and I'm having, that again is a really common thing. But when you pin it down and you just show you're an expert, or you specialize in documentary, or I was a music photographer, or you could be a fashion photographer, and you're not a jack of all trades. Already you're I guess you're going to stand out as somebody who's going to be really good at that, as opposed to kind of good at this, kind of good at that, because you can't be amazing at everything. So I think that's another exciting transformation. And if anybody would like to check Rebecca's out, she's given me permission to share her Instagram, which is currently, but this isn't the, well, this will be the portfolio one, or is this?
This will be the portfolio one. I'll be adding photography to the end of it. Okay. Once I'm back on my socials. It's currently that one. Yeah.
But you have some work on it at the moment. This is one you've stripped out all the.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's Rebecca, M for mother, A for alpha. Yeah. Powell. Yeah. And you can see her name there. That's how to spell it. And that's on Instagram at the moment. As that. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Cool. Okay. Is there anything else that's like, you know, that maybe you felt over the last couple of weeks in the shift that you want to share with anybody?
Just when I was having my time off, just how I felt like I was in touch with myself more, and the things I was doing, I was more focused on, I was more present in the work I was doing, and it's just important to have time for yourself and the things you're doing, rather than just rushing through everything. It's just take a step back, and then, like, your work's not going anywhere, you're the one that's in charge, so just go at your own pace rather than having to rush through everything and not putting out your absolute best stuff. I think.
And also, I mean, the comparison thing, I think we might have talked about that a bit as well, that's a big part of social media, as most people will agree, is that, you know, you're comparing, you're going on, and they say comparison is a killer of joy, and I do believe that to be a thing. And it's very hard not to compare. Like, even if you're in a good place in your life or with your work or whatever, it's almost impossible not to compare, because that's what we do as humans. But again, I guess having had this break, you're not looking to other people, in, you know, you're not looking at your reflection in other people, you're looking at your own reflection in yourself, the time that you're spending with yourself. So
yeah, definitely that.
Go on. No.
I was gonna say, now it's just, I look at other people's work and I see it as their work. I'm like, oh, what they've done is really great. And then I look at my work, what I've done is really great. It's not the same thing, it's different, and that's good. And I'm proud of them and I'm proud of me. And it's not the same thing at all.
Yeah. So there's a separation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I think, like, separation for me with coaching work is common theme of separating, you know, often, like, if it's an anxiety or something like that, it can often feel like it's inside us and there's nothing, you know, we don't know where it ends and we begin, that kind of thing, you know, but in a non-romantic kind of way. So when we're able, you know, using certain techniques and also mindfulness practice as well, to create that separation, it's not that we're disconnecting, it's just that we're just, you know, we're saying, these are my boundaries, that's yours, you know, you're there doing your thing, I'm here doing my thing, we're all just doing our thing together, but I can appreciate you now, as you just said, and appreciate me, and you're going to be standing so much stronger and taller in that space because you know who you are. That's amazing. I'm just so excited for you and proud of you, and you know, you were so open to it as well, which was, you know, more power to you for that, because, you know, perhaps at a different time you might not have felt quite as ready, but you were definitely, like, I think you already knew before we had the conversation, though, that there was a shift needed, so you were just
definitely. I think when I saw the circle, when I, like, saw it in front of me, that's when it kind of hit, just being able to see what the problem was. Because, like you said, you can just ignore it and just push it aside, but when it's, like, right in front of your face, I feel like that changes a lot.
I think I will never forget your face. You're just like, oh my god. You should keep that. Have you still got? You probably got rid of it, but you should have kept that bit of paper.
And I still have it. It's
you should have brought it. I should have asked you. But no, keep that. And then when you're a famous photographer and your work's on the front page of the Guardian and all that kind of stuff, or National Geographic, which we talked about, then you can be like, Yeah, it's not so much 70% anymore. It's like,
No.
yeah. So for you, just one last question, and I know the answer to this already, but previously your success or your failure was dependent on, or how you saw your success or failure was dependent on your engagement, how much you're engaging, how much people were engaging with you. You know, that was the sort of the barometer for how good your work was. Where's that coming from now?
Me.
Yay.
If I'm not happy with it, then I won't use it. But when I'm really happy, that's when I know I've done some good work.
Full stop. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll put it out there regardless of, do you feel like you'll, you know, if you've got a piece of work that you really love, but you think this might not be, you know, this might not be attention catching enough, you know, on the feeds, this might, you know, this might bomb because of, I don't know, for whatever reason, you just don't think it's going to be attention grabbing enough, would you still post it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like if it doesn't get loads of likes, and that's fine, because people can't like everything you put out. Absolutely. If they like it, then they'll give it attention. If they don't, and that's fine. As long as I like it, then that's what matters at the end of the day, because it's my work to put out.
That's the authenticity, isn't it? And it's just like going with the flow as well. Like, I know this with my coaching work of putting content out there. If you freeze or resist on everything you do, like nothing happens. And we know as well, we put something out there, you know, 30 seconds later, it's in the past, or, you know, even quicker than that. But, you know, people will see it over time and things tick away. And, you know, you get 3 days later, there'll be some comment on something you posted, you know, so it's still there, but everything is just moving so fast. So it's just like, just not sweating it, like that need, and focusing on your work, which is what you're doing. So, well, thank you for sharing your insights, because I know that'd be really helpful for a lot of people that feel similarly to you. And I think that's really inspiring. And I think I said to you, you've inspired me as well, you know, when I have my struggles with these kinds of things, because we all do. And I've definitely had them very strongly in the past, that dependency on those things. And that was at a particularly difficult time in my life where things weren't in balance. Whereas now it's like, like I can see it. And as you said, it's like, you know that's how that's working, the algorithm. It's just like, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. But I'm going to just do my thing anyway. So good for you. And thank you for your time. And
thank you.
I can't wait to see what's next. I'm very excited. I will be, well, I'm on your Instagram. I will be watching for when you do. Do you have a date when you're going to post something when you come back?
It will probably be the 6th or 7th. Okay. Just so I can go over final checks. I will do.
Let me know so I can come and have a look, and
I definitely will.
Grand opening of the new era of Rebecca Powell photography.
Thank you.
Mega Powell photography. All right, lovely. Well, thank you so much, and more power to you. Keep it up, and
thank you.
Good luck with it. All right, I'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye, lovely.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.